I just want to pick up on that as we wrap this spotlight hearing up. Think about who uses the student loan system. It's not the children of rich people. They do fine, right? They can afford to write a check. This is about people who have the dream and who want to make something out of it. They want to turn it into something. They've got a particular vision in mind. They want to be a teacher, or they want to be a counselor, as you did. They want to do a thing that's going to take this education, this training that they're going to get. And we do it both ways with these changes at the Department of Education. Making the cuts at the Department of Education increases the odds that those who borrow money will get cheated. They will get cheated by the student loan borrowers that they're lenders that they're funneled through. We already know that they're problematic because they're getting rid of the people who do the oversight. They also will get cheated in a different way, and that is by making the barriers a little higher. Some people will never make it across, and so they'll go to a private lender and sometimes to a predatory private lender. And no matter what, to a private lender who is likely to cost them a lot more money. And there's a third way they'll get cheated. They had the drive, they had the ambition, they had the smarts to do the work, but they just couldn't make it over the barrier. And so they never get the education that they'd hoped for. They never get the training that they'd hoped for. They never get that opportunity. So they are worse off, their family is worse off, and our nation is worse off because one more person who would have been out there in the fight, making their contributions, the person who knows what they might have invented, how they might have helped, that person has just been closed out of that part of the system. That is part one of what's happening here, but the other part is loosening up the oversight of the colleges themselves. So it's about the lenders, but it's also about some of these colleges. Look, most of the colleges and universities out there, most of the apprenticeship programs, they're good programs. They are doing their very best for students. Some of our technical training in this country, some of the best in the world, they are doing a good job. But there are others who figured out there is money to be made. And the money to be made is exactly as you describe it. Ms. Snyder, it's money to be made off you. It's money to be made off our vets. They are the ones who are right in the crosshairs on where to go. And I want to say, they also go after single moms, right? People who are, you're also a single mom, thanks, Ms. Snyder, yes. They go after single moms. They advertise on the T in Boston. You want to try to do better for your children? This is how you can do it. And they get people in, they get them to sign on the dotted line, they get access to those federal dollars, they make a lot of money, and they leave people with student loan debt that they not only can't pay, they can't get out from underneath. It's not like your credit card debt and you say, okay, I declare bankruptcy, I'm done with all this. The answer is nope, you got this student loan debt most likely forever until you pay this off. So I really want to say one more time how much I appreciate having all four of you here and everybody in this room. I read your signs. I appreciate that you care and that you put your energy into this. I want to leave the last question for Ms. Snyder. And I want to do this partly because Secretary McMahon said she wouldn't come today because she was sure she wouldn't get a fair hearing. She wouldn't come because we were going to ask her about these cuts. If she had been here, I would have asked her, how do you respond to this? Explain to me how you think you can cut 60% of your staff and programs that are already tottering won't just collapse and leave people with no help. Tell me how you can fire the people who engage in the oversight to make sure that people like Ms. Snyder don't get cheated and still expect that they're not going to get cheated. They're going to get cheated more. So those are the questions I wanted to ask, and I'll just be blunt. She could have asked her own questions. I'd have been happy to have her here to ask whatever questions you wanted to ask. But she wanted to make, in this letter, to imply, to suggest outright, this is all just political. I want to finish this by asking you, I hope you don't mind my doing this, Ms. Snyder. My staff had just done some checking before when we first were inviting you. You're not a Democrat, as I understand.
No, ma'am, I'm not.
She is not a Democrat. As I understand, you're not even registered to vote.
That is correct, ma'am.
So not somebody who's got a political stick in this, but somebody who's been directly affected by the past struggles of the Department of Education and now looking at how the Department of Education is going to fire the team that makes sure that schools and lenders and servicers don't take advantage of students, that's going to gut the team that monitors the scams and that has slashed the Office of the Ombudsman, which fielded hundreds of thousands of borrower complaints every year and helped defrauded borrowers. Get rid of all that. So tell me, as a not Democrat, as a not registered voter, not a political person, I think it would be fair to say, do you support President Trump and Secretary of Education efforts to cut the Department of Education and its programs?
Absolutely not. And, and I think it was important, to point out that I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not registered to vote. There's a story behind that, but that's a whole nother story. And so it was important, again, to highlight this is not a partisan issue. It is not just, people like me who don't subscribe to either political party. I have Republican friends who are in the same issue. I have Democratic friends who feel this thing too. I have friends who identify as independent who still this. I think what they're doing to the Department of Education is abhorrent. This is madness. And so no, absolutely not.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.